iScreamers. Welcome to your bi-weekly screens with Mr. Lucky Limes and Mr. Cool J.
Lawrence E. Cool J. Gibbs here. How the hell are you, ice creamers? It doesn't seem we get to visit with you enough. We always miss you, and we're glad that you could join us.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I wish we got to see him more as well.
Can you say screamers?
Can you say ice creams, boys and girls? Yeah. We got some exciting news this week, and I'm sure you probably heard it yourself. Starship Troopers. There is a new adaptation, and it's not really a remake because let's be fair, right? This is from a literary source, right? Robert Heinlein's famous novel, but there's a new version of Starship Troopers coming, and the man who's bringing it to us is District 9 Elysium Chappie Neil Blomkamp. So, man, I don't know about you, but I'm like super excited about it. You got to be a Blomkamp fan, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Big time. I mean, who better to bring Starship Troopers back than him? Holy crap.
Super cool. And, I mean, obviously, the guy like District 9 is, I think, arguably, again, like when you talk about top sci-fi movies of the last 25 years of the new millennium, District 9 is top 10, probably top 5, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, I mean, because I'm super interested because I've read a lot over the years, but I got to be honest, I've never read Robert Heinlein's original novel, and I know that there were people that took issue with the initial movie with Casper Van Dien and co because they said it kind of strayed from the book. For me, I hadn't read the book, so Starship Troopers for me was the movie I saw. And let's go with that. You obviously, I got to believe you saw Starship Troopers, the movie. Did you? What's your feelings on, like, were you a fan?
I mean, it was entertaining. I mean, sorry, Casper, nothing personal, pal. You definitely are great for what you portrayed, but wasn't never a big fan. No, I'm just kidding. No. No, it was Casper. I kid, man. I kid.
We just lost at least one viewer there.
I kid. I kid because I love. No, I mean, it was entertaining for what it was. Again, not reading the source material, I really couldn't compare the two. But for me, it was a fun, adrenaline junkie ride with incredible creature effects. Absolutely incredible creature effect.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. And something for me personally, I wasn't. I liked it when I first saw it. I thought, oh, it's pretty cool. It's good. But it's one of those movies that I think has aged incredibly well. The effects, like you were talking about the creature effects. I was watching it again recently. I'm going to get into why I was specifically watching it recently, because that kind of ties into the rest of what we're talking about this show. But yeah, watching it recently, I'm watching those bug fights with the arachnids or wherever they were. And the CGI, the ship's a little bit dodgy in places, and it's understandable. The movie was like 1997 or whatever, but those creatures, they still look super cool. Those battles are savage.
I was going to say the studios, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe, was it Stan Winston or one of the folks that worked with Stan Winston that was in charge of the creature effects?
Phil Tippett.
Phil Tippett, that's right. Thank you.
Yep.
There was a huge battle during that whole era when it came to practical effects versus CGI. And CGI was just coming out of that fledgling era where it was being experimented with.
Yeah.
You had, obviously two camps that were very protective of their craft and very proud of their craft. And it wasn't until years later where they figured out how to work more harmoniously together. And I'm glad that they did. But for me, creature effects, practical creature effects is an exquisite art and skill that even with CGI, it cannot be matched. And again, it takes a lot of skill for CGI. It takes brains beyond mine to be able to use that technology to make something look so incredibly real that you're kind of questioning yourself, whoa, is this practical or is this CGI? What do they do? I mean, some of them, it's going to be CGI, but again, I'm a purist in that aspect where I love the skill of bringing inanimate, materials together to come to life for practical effects, for practical creature effects. I really do.
We first saw that sort of, um, or I want to say successfully. We first successfully saw that kind of blending of, like you said, the practical, partial
Mhm.
CGI with Jurassic Park, right? Like
Yeah.
Spielberg's
Oh,
original.
yes.
That
Yes.
was they did a beautiful job. I gotta back up though a second because um I'm actually on. You know what? We're in disagreement again because I actually love Casper Van Dien in this movie. I really do, and because don't get me wrong, I can
Yeah.
see I can see where you're coming from, but when
Yeah.
you watch the performances in this movie, and it's part of the
Yeah.
reason why I think it's aged so well,
Yes.
is it's so politically satirical. Like
Yes.
it's a satire on fascism, and their performances,
Yes.
they really were kind of like going back to that sort of 50s B movie feel,
Yes. Yes.
and
Exactly.
right,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
to me is that's why I enjoy him so much because I see what
Yeah.
he's doing. And you know what? I'm going to kind of segue a little bit
Uh-huh.
and carry us into what else we're going to talk about this, which is
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
growing up, our influences and such. One of
Yes.
the things that's really, really gravitate me back to Starship Troopers. Would you believe this? My two youngest absolutely they discovered it recently and they adore it. They're Johnny Rico, Casper Van Dien, he's their hero. He's like out there, like,
Oh.
oh my goodness, yeah, yeah. Caleb and Kane are like they've got the Xbox game. They love the movie. I'd actually promised him. I said, listen, if Casper comes to
Yeah.
Fan
Yeah.
Expo or one of these things one year, would you like to go meet him? Would you like to go meet the guy who played Johnny Rico? Yeah, 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 take us. Yeah, let's do it, right? But
Yeah.
that kind of that's a wonderful segue there because we've known each other a few years now, right? I'm very curious because you obviously kind of grew up. You're like a California boy, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Essex boy, which if you know much about our area, that carries its own connotations right there. But I'm curious because the differences between the US and the UK. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about childhood's influences. And I want to go right back to, let's start right at the beginning. Those kind of like when you're like, 4, 5, 6, those kind of age. Like,
Yeah.
what were your first influences? And let's go from TV first. When you were a kid, think back, what were you watching when you were kind of in those like first formative years, the 4, 5, 6, 7 kind of ages?
Oh, well, I prepared a list again because there's so many. There's so
There
many
is.
that I grew up
Oh, there
with,
is.
and
Yep.
I got to go over the list. Are we ready? Are
Go
we
for
ready, ice creamers? I
it.
can't hear you.
That's because they
They're ready.
can't communicate. They can't communicate with us. You can't hear them because they can't talk to us. Right?
Isn't that a bummer? Okay, yay. I'm going to go over my list. Are we ready? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Of course, my most endearing and the biggest influence, and here, I'll give you a hint. You're traveling to another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. That's right, Twilight Zone, Rod Serling,
Yeah.
one of my most endearing and influential influences. He did definitely made an indelible mark on me. He truly did. Uh, his presentation, the stories that he helped write, amongst others, of course, the humanity of the stories as well as the supernatural, the terror factor, the unknown. I absolutely loved it. I was enthralled with it, and it was a huge influence. Two of my or three of my favorite episodes on that: Death
Hmm.
Heads Revisited, about the sadistic Nazi commandant that goes back to the camp to relive old glory and gets a surprise visitation.
Right.
Absolutely well done. And then with Burgess Meredith, Time Enough at Last.
Oh,
Absolutely
oh,
incredible.
oh, 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 oh. Is that the one where he's there's a nuclear war and he's had a
Yeah,
spare set of glasses he's gonna read that was
yeah,
and
yeah.
he smashed these glasses, right?
Yes,
I had
yes. The
time.
irony of it.
Oh
The irony of it.
yeah,
Once he came up to finding the library, it was like, okay, I'm making the best of a horrible situation. Everybody's gone, but my God, I have all the company I need. I have every person I ever loved right here that can last me until I pass. And then for that to happen to him, your heart got crushed for you. You really
yeah.
did.
Yeah, that's a classic episode. That's a classic episode. Yeah. Can I tell
Yeah.
you one of my favorites from the
Yes.
Twilight Zone?
Yes.
Um, I love the episode. I mean, there's so many. I mean, we could literally do an entire show on the Twilight Zone, right? But I like the one, the Howling Man, where the dude's like
That
hiking
was
through
my
the
third one.
mountains.
That
Was
was
it
my third
really?
one. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
boom! Look at that synchronicity. That's amazing.
Hell yeah.
That is terrific,
Yes.
right? And the
Yes.
fight, like the having the devil like in there, like you don't let this man out of
Yes.
the jail cell, and the guy's like wanting to get out, wanting to get. And again, you go back to Rod Serling and about like I think the final monologue in that is that they say that you can catch the devil, but you can't keep him.
Yeah.
It brings me up in oh my god! I mean, goosebumps right now. Just
Yeah.
thinking about that. You
Yeah.
mentioned Burgess Meredith, and when
Mm-hmm.
I think Burgess Meredith, um, I generally think two characters. First,
Yes.
I think obviously Mickey, the trainer from the Rocky movies. That's a
Yes.
whole
Yes.
other thing. But then I think, and I think the
Penguin.
Penguin. Did
Classic.
you
Batman.
let's talk about Batman for a second. Batman was serious business to us as a kid, right? Like when we watched those things, those episodes, and you got to like the cliffhanger, and I
Yeah.
don't know, Batman's on a like a plank that's retracting, and there's like sharks beneath him or something like that.
Yeah.
Tune in next week, right?
Yes.
It's
Same bat
wonderful.
time, same bat
Same
channel.
Bat channel. It's wonderful though to see the innocence in us. I mean, we
Yeah.
really thought with those cliffhangers, we were like, my God, I gotta see if he gets out of this. I was like, I mean, like now as a grown up, like as an adult, you're like, yeah, like of course he's gonna get out of it because otherwise this show's fucking dead, right? But can I actually tell you a nefarious story about my mom and Batman?
Ah,
Like
okay. All right.
this is and this kind of really sort of highlights how serious it was to us as kids.
Uh-huh.
My mum would make. I did not. My mum. God bless her. She's a great cook. But when I was a kid, she used to. I did not like. I don't know why. I did not like um, beef stew. I just didn't like it. Right. I love it
Wow.
now, but I didn't. Hey, what can I say? I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Always
Yeah.
there's something, right?
Yeah.
And our parents were the listen. We're not a restaurant. You eat what we're making, and that's it. My mum,
That's our generation.
dude, she deliberately made beef stew on the nights that Batman was on the TV because she would say to me, "You're not getting down to watch Batman until you've had your." And I was like, "Fuck, I got to right." Like so, I'd be like, "I right to get because I mean, this was before VHS, right? This was before VCRs. If you didn't see it
Yeah.
on
Oh yeah.
TV,
You missed
you
it.
didn't see it. You missed it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, my mum, she
Uh,
was a crafty one. But moving on. Hit me from something else from your list. What else were you watching on
hell yeah.
TV at the time?
Outer Limits, which
Oh
was in the
yeah,
same generation of the Twilight Zone, which absolutely is
terrific.
phenomenal. The one episode that still haunts me to this day were the ant creatures with the human eyes and the human mouth. Dude, creeped me out. Absolutely creeped me out on that one. Seriously.
That was Bruce Stern in that episode, right?
What's that?
That was Bruce
Bruce Stern.
Stern in that
I
episode.
believe so.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
the Zanti Misfits or something like that. That was a really terrific episode. Yeah,
Yeah.
Outer
No.
Limits. Yeah, Outer Limits was cool. Yeah, very
Outer
cool.
Limits was awesome. It really was. And again, too, the stories behind it. And one thing I'll go back with Twilight Zone really quick, especially with the Howling Man, Death's Head Revisited. What again? It was such poignant and important social, political commentary. It
Mm.
truly was. And that's another thing that I truly appreciated from it. Actually, if you watch every one of the episodes, you can learn a lot from 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 history, psychology, and the human condition from watching those. I kid you not.
But you
I
know
honestly
what?
believe that.
But there's a lot of great TV from that era that
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
doing that, right? Like
Yeah.
they managed. I mean, I think it's pretty
Yeah.
safe to say
Star
we
Trek.
both
Yes.
grew up watching Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Star Trek, and let's say just the three: Star Trek, Twilight Zone, and The Outer Limits. They managed to sneak
Hmm.
the most incredible messages about
Yeah.
racism, tolerance, warfare, politics, and they managed to sneak it by the censors because they wrapped it up in these wonderful
Yes.
sci-fi stories
Yes.
that you didn't even like. The censors didn't even realize what they were talking about, right? I mean, look at
Yeah.
Star Trek,
Yeah.
and I say this so many times. Show me another. Let's. This was in the height of the Cold War, right? Show
Yes.
me another TV show that had American, Japanese,
Hmm.
Russian, African characters
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
together for like
Yeah.
the betterment of humanity. That alone is so groundbreaking,
Oh yeah.
so
And it's very
groundbreaking, right?
powerful. Very powerful
Very
of a
powerful.
message.
Uhura and Kirk were the first interracial kiss on TV, right?
Yes.
I think
Absolutely groundbreaking. It
I
was
think
historic.
the
Yeah.
right, and I think the episode was the empath. I think I could be wrong on that, but one of the great anecdotes that I heard and I love is that they wanted to shoot it. They weren't sure how the audience was going to react with a
Yeah.
white man and a black woman kissing. So they hedged their bets and they're like, we're going to shoot this two ways. We're going to shoot this with the kiss. We're going to shoot this without the kiss. And the story that I've heard is that Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura, and William Shatner, both of them acknowledged, you know what, this is super important. We have
Yes.
to make sure this goes out on the air. And apparently, they deliberately flubbed every take without the kiss, so that in the end there was no choice. You have to use a cut that's got the kiss in it. But
Yeah.
something I'm noticing right out the gate about your choices
Hmm.
versus my choices is a lot of these formative shows that you are talking about, and this kind of gets back to what we were saying, are American, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't have American influences. I
Uh-huh.
did. Star Trek, Batman, Twilight, like all these ones you're saying.
Yeah.
But when I think of the influences that really shaped me on TV at the time, they're mostly British. Um, Doctor Who with Tom
Okay.
Baker, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Absolutely, like that show was so important to me as a kid. It was probably, I would say, hands down my favorite TV show. Scared the living shit out of me because it had sci-fi elements and it had
Yeah.
horror
Yeah.
elements in it.
Yeah.
But let's go to movies now because obviously, we're both big movie guys, right? What
Oh
would
yeah.
you say are the three most influential movies? And I'm talking specifically from your formative years, not your older teens, like from your younger years. What would you say? Like say between 6 and 12, the ages of 6 and 12.
The classics that again scared the shit out of me. The Omen, The Exorcist, Amityville Horror.
Amazing. So that's horror. What about sci-fi?
Sci-fi, Logan's Run, kicked ass. Oh, and Westworld. Loved Westworld and Planet of the Apes. Sorry,
Oh.
that was five, but yeah,
No, no,
those.
no. That's
Yeah,
cool. And those are all like super important films, man. I
yeah,
mean, oh yeah, I everything you said there, I share. Logan's Run, I still love Logan's Run to this day. It's a
yeah.
bit of an obsession of mine. I'm kind of surprised that that's never got a remake because again, it's from a literary
Yeah.
source. They've tried multiple times. I know Matt Damon was attached to it at one point, I think, but um, I same as you though. I guess the real classics for me, obviously. I mean, I could go through a bazillion, like The Day the Earth
Oh yeah.
Stood Still, Forbidden Planet, Incredible Shrinking Man. Those, but
Yes.
I think realistically, the ones that probably had the biggest effect on me was definitely Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
Oh yeah, yeah.
because seeing that with my parents, it was
Mhm.
just like it irrevocably changed the way I looked at the night sky.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in terms of and it really opened my mind to possibilities and such. And I'm tempted to say Star Wars, but Star Wars is kind of a given because we all
Yeah.
the one that really affected me was Battlestar Galactica. Like, and I mean, obviously it went on. It was a TV show,
Yeah.
but the initial three-part story was released theatrically. In
Yes.
the I know in Canada and definitely in the UK, and that one always sticks with me because I had a friend when I was a kid. His name was Rafi Khan, and I don't know who his dad was, but he was some kind of a diplomat for Pakistan.
Oh,
Because these guys, like, I go to his house and they have these pictures of his dad, like shaking hands with prime ministers and presidents and stuff. But he had a laserdisc machine. This is
oh, yeah.
right when like sort of the late 70s when the
Yeah.
laser discs, like,
Yes.
you had to be someone if you had one. And I
Oh
remember
God.
him cut right, and he said to me, "Oh, I got this movie, Battlestar Galactica. You got to come watch it. You got to come watch."
Yes.
So I went over there, and the movie, it just fucking blew me away, right? Because it really
Yeah.
got me thinking about the whole ancient aliens and
Yes.
life here began out there and all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
wow, 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 wow.
2001 Space Odyssey.
Space Odyssey, another terrific film, and one that's carried. I'm sure that's still as huge to you now as an adult as it was to you when you first saw it.
Yes.
Something that I notice about these films, though, especially Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it's something that I feel sad for today's generations that they're never going to experience quite the same as we did, because spectacle is all over the place now, right? Like, I mean, it's the summer blockbuster has become the spring, fall, winter. There's blockbusters all year round, right? But when we were kids, I
Yeah.
mean, Jaws started it. Jaws was
Mhm.
really the first summer blockbuster. Then we got
Yeah.
Star Wars, but Close Encounters, what I notice about these films is when we were kids, the story was the most important thing. And the effects were the cherry on the cake. The effects were the dessert for you, like
Yes.
for you investing in the story. I mean, like Close Encounters, they sprinkle a little bit of effects throughout, but
Mhm.
that big payoff at the end with the mothership coming over,
Yeah.
Devil's Tower and stuff, it's the climax of a great story. It
Yeah.
feels like today, though, they've kind of back engineered it, and it's almost like they come up with the effects. Oh, this would be a great scene. This would be a great scene. This would be a great scene. And then they seem to write the story around the
Yes.
effects to me. Like,
Yes.
am I wrong on that, or
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The art of storytelling, unfortunately, for the most part, has been lost. But some of the documentaries that I've been watching went over that very same sentiment that you just expressed. What's the scene? What's the creature? What's the special effect? What about this? Clash. Blah blah blah. Okay, that's going to be it. Let's write the story around it, and
yeah,
it's a shame.
and it's why you don't like. I mean, you get big movies, but I bona fide classics are few and far between. Like I find a lot of today's cinema very forget. I was having this very forgettable. I was having this discussion with one of my older sons yesterday because we're talking about Avatar. Now I
Yeah,
don't know where you sit on Avatar, but I like it, but I think it's super overrated. And like I really do. And the fact that we've got a great filmmaker like James Cameron
yes.
that's now like making what, four sequels to the original. Like, we've had one sequel and now there's three more to
Mhm.
come, so he's going to be tied up with this thing forever. And for me, I'm just like, I like, yeah, all right, as a one-off movie, is there
Yeah,
really enough? Isn't there enough? Again, it feels like it's just about well, we want to do this and show that and show the other thing. It's like, well, I prefer just a like a simple like. Well, I keep going back to Close Encounters, but
Yeah.
it's a simple story of a man that sees something and then goes on this journey to figure out what
Yeah.
the hell it was he saw, right? What he
Yeah.
experienced. That's the core. That's what sucks me in, not the effects,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not
Oh
the
yeah.
effects, you know? I don't know. I'm starting to sound like cranky old lines again. It's getting to be a running thing.
Times all you have to do is relax, take a couple deep breaths, and just let the zen come in, my friend. Oi,
Horror,
you and
hor-
your crankiness, oi.
you and
Ha!
your crankiness. Horror though.
Yeah.
Definitely the most influential horror movie for me was definitely the original Halloween. John
Which one?
Carpenter's the original Halloween.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Which that launched the slasher genre.
It really did, because I mean I know that they say like, well, Psycho was the first slasher, and Black Christmas and stuff, but they didn't. I mean, after Halloween, you just had
Yeah,
like the floodgates were open, right?
yeah,
So really, it kind of really was the first slasher.
yeah,
The reason it sticks with me though, and the reason it resonates with me, is because I grew up like you, probably watching all the Hammers and the Universals and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And there was a very set formula where you had this creature, this revenant, there was a problem, people were getting killed, but you knew that by the end it would be resolved and the
yeah,
creature was staked or burned or it was gone, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
you kind of got that respite as a kid where you're like, oh, it's so the danger's over. My dad had a business partner at the time, and he had, again, just like what I was saying about my buddy there with the blue the laserdisc player.
yeah,
My dad's partner had a VHS player when VHS was fresh and new, and it
yeah.
opened up the doorway for us kids who couldn't get in to see movies at the movie theater, right? Because we were too
Yeah.
young.
Oh,
It opened that doorway. So I at the time I was on a big kick. I wanted to see Alien. I really wanted to see Alien. That was the big movie. So
yeah,
finally, my dad's party said, "Oh, don't you worry. I'll get it on VHS. You guys get your dad to bring you over and we'll watch Alien." So it came around, and he's like, so my dad comes up to first. Yeah, we're going to go to Colin's house on Saturday night. He's got Alien. You can watch it. And I'm doing
yeah.
my dad's Cockney accent now. And he's got another movie. It's called something like The Pumpkin Man. The
Oh
fucking
my
pump.
God.
Dude, he said The Pumpkin Man. It's called The Pumpkin Man. I'm like, what the fuck? And that just sounds stupid to me, right? So we got over there and I watched Alien, and I was a little bit underwhelmed by Alien because Alien, I think you appreciate it more the older you get because it's such a great hardcore sci-fi movie with
Yeah,
a haunted house twist, right? And then we got to this second movie, The Pumpkin Man. It wasn't The Pumpkin Man, it was fucking Halloween, right?
yeah,
And it resonated with me because I was terrified watching this, like the suspense.
yes,
And I distinctly remember that you get to and I'm just like, I got to a point where I'm just like, I need this to be over. It's fucking creeping me out too much, right?
yeah.
And you get the scene there with Laurie, and
Hmm.
Loomis blows the gun, blows him out the window, and poof, there he
Yeah,
goes, right? What's the boogeyman? As a matter of fact, that was. And
yeah,
then the camera goes over, and he's gone,
yes,
right? He's gone. And
yes.
I remember, but I said to my dad's partner, Colin, I said, well, what now? And he just looked at me, he goes, that's it. That's the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just went to bed that night thinking, because there was no resolution. And it's like, oh my God, he's still out there. No, he's not. It's a film.
Yeah.
But he's still out there. Like, like, shit, man. Like that really freaked me out. That freaked me
Yeah.
out. Go
Another
on.
thing about Halloween, again, John Carpenter, absolutely phenomenal. We both love John Carpenter. John Carpenter is the master. He truly is. Uh, you know, with Halloween, not only was it a slasher, but
Mm.
it was also I would say uh, not really psychological horror, but really going into the human condition of evil, the personification of evil,
Yeah. Yeah.
and coming from the human aspect. So you didn't have this nightmarish creature or supernatural creature. You had this human being, which was the personification of evil.
Right. 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 And
Whoops.
and and they dabble. Like they dabble with that whole is this right because yeah because realistically it's a dude right but then there's this is there something supernatural because
Hold on, brother.
Loomis
Hold on, brother. I am so sorry. Hold on, brother.
you're okay.
Yeah, hold on. Here.
See, boys and girls, this is what happens when podcasts go wrong. I'm totally keeping this in. He doesn't know. I'm totally going to keep this in. His dog, he's just had to let his dog out. Yeah.
Yeah, my youngest or my daughter just came home and the dogs went crazy. Sorry about that.
So good, man.
Sorry,
So good.
iScreemers, I got dogs.
This week's episode, when podcasts go wrong, starring LL and Cool J. Fuck, man. Hey, what about, let's jump ahead. Like, what about, like, in terms of influences that you carried through? Obviously, for me, I'm going to say right off the bat, Blade Runner. I was a big cyberpunk
Oh,
guy.
yes,
And to
yes.
this day, I still think it's like the greatest movie, not just the greatest sci-fi movie, but to me, that's the greatest movie that was ever made and ever probably will be made. But what
Yep.
about you? What's something that you carried through from maybe your teenage years or something, and it's still as special to you now, if not more so?
I for sci-fi wise, Dune. Dune kicked ass for me.
The David
Even
Lynch one?
though it had a little cheesiness to it, a tiny bit of cheesiness to it, I loved I loved the whole aspect of it. Again, it's taking like medieval, you know, uh, you know, dynasty building and super involved, engrossing sci-fi and supernatural. It was an incredible mixture of all that, and I thought it was brilliantly done.
Yeah, that was that. You are you referencing the David Lynch one, like where Sting was
Yes,
in it,
yes,
and
yes. The
what?
original, the other two. I mean, the most recent one that came out was good. It had a budget. It was good, but for me, I know I use that a lot, kids. For me though, the original, the
Yeah, yeah.
original was incredibly well done.
You talk about medieval, and that makes me think of one that really was a big influence, and I carry through to this day. I love when you see a film, and you probably can think of one or two yourself, but you see a film that you saw as a teenager, not knowing specifically what you were going into. And then
Mm-hmm.
you come out and you're like, wow, that was amazing. And the one that springs to mind for me was the one Highlander with Christopher Lambert.
There's only one higher.
There could be only one, yeah, from from the
I'm
dawn of
supposed to be a
time.
Spaniard, but I talk like a Scottish because I am. I'm Sean Connery. I can do fucking anything.
Fucking, but we saw we I was with a couple of buddies and we were actually going into we just were out for the day and we were like let's go see a movie.
Uh,
What's playing? And we went in and like honestly we saw this poster and we didn't know anything about the film going in. All you've got is Christopher Lambert on the poster like this with the sword and like you're like and there can be only one soundtrack by Queen. All right, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
But again, you've got this immortal beings fighting with
yeah,
swords, chopping each other's
yeah.
heads off. So we came out of that film. We went in not
Uh-huh.
knowing what the fuck we were going in to see, and we came out just like, my God, that was so good, so kick ass, right? And again, it's a clever way of getting around. Okay, let's not do laser guns and all this other zap
Yeah,
guns and whatever. Let's
yeah,
have just sword fights,
yeah,
but it's still got a sci-fi element, right?
yeah, yeah. And that was Clancy Brown's one of his first major roles. Now, a lot of people know Clancy Brown, who voiced Lex Luthor for the Batman animated series and the Superman and what have you, and Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah.
Hey, SpongeBob, will you get back to work? But he was a menacing character.
Yeah.
I loved his character.
He was. Yeah.
That was one of the movies where you rooted for the bad guy.
You're pissing over my teenage years here, dude. What are you doing? I didn't root for the bad guy. I was rooting for Connor McLeod. I even named my second eldest son Connor after Connor McLeod. Like, you God, man. But jokes aside, I get where you're coming from because the Kurgan, Clancy Brown, what an iconic. Like when you think of iconic villains from 80s movies.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah. Like he killed it. Like absolutely. And again, I think it comes down to that because and maybe this is like what you were saying about rooting for the bad guy, is that she's evil, but there was this twisted charisma about him as well, right?
Totally. And the dialogue and his delivery of the lines was just beautiful. It really was. It was entertaining. And again, Sean Connery, who doesn't love Sean Connery? No matter what Sean Connery's in, you love him.
Never-ending Story. Like that, seriously. Like, Willow is another. Like while we're talking, Legend! Ridley Scott, right?
With Tim Curry as the devil.
Yeah. That's it. That is, you talk about groundbreaking makeups.
Oh, brilliant.
Talk about that stands the test of time, man. He still looks super cool, right?
Oh, yeah. And it's Tim Curry. It's Tim Curry. Come on.
Can you stop saying curry? Because you're making me really hungry right now.
Well,
every time you say Tim Curry, you really emphasize the curry, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, chicken, vegetable, shrimp. Oh, okay.
Well, just like his portrayal of Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Show and Rocky Horror Picture Show, he's just absolutely delicious.
Oh, absolutely delicious. Of course. I guess we're kind of coming to the end of our show again, and it's always a pleasure. But something I would like to ask you is, what do you think are? And obviously, all of our kids know the Star Wars movie because it's the franchise is like it's basically fast food now, right? There's a new Star Wars coming out every week, right? Yeah. But of those, sorry, I'm under attack. I just got attacked by my cat.
So me with my dogs and you with your cat.
Me with the cat, you with the dogs. Like, why did you do that? I'm trying to do a show here, right? Anyway, what I was going to say to you was, taking aside those kind of things that have been redone and whatever, what would you say is maybe a couple, like one or two, like great movies that you really would think should introduce to your kids? Or have introduced to your kids?
Damn, I pretty much introduced them to them all. I mean, my love for all these movies I shared with my kids, and they grew up appreciating them.
Good for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's a part of ourselves, and I know you feel the same way, where we want to share our favorite part of ourselves and what really kind of shaped us with our children. Yeah.
I'll tell you the one with me, and I like my son Caleb loves and is obsessed with Mad Max. He had asked me what is, like, he said he likes these kind of post-apocalyptic things, right? He'd ask me like, what exactly is that? What is that? And I'm like, well, it's kind of this like lone warrior, blah 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 blah, goes from place to place. And I got in. He wanted to watch The Road Warrior. So we set aside a Sunday afternoon, and him and I sat and watched because I that's a terrific film, right? He was blown away, so blown away, not just by the character of Max, but by because again, the stunts in that. You were talking practical again. They really were wrecking cars and flipping cars and all this other, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's not this CGI stuff, and it's still incredible now. But to see him the way he goes, and he ended up when Furiosa came out. Like he's like, "Can you take me to see Furiosa?"
Yeah.
Because he knew it was in the Mad Max world, and he
Yeah.
loved Furiosa. Like so, it's wonderful to see him see one of my children take something that was so special to me
Yeah.
and take a degree of ownership to it now that it's like you pass
Yeah.
it. Okay, you own this as much as I do. This is it's wonderful. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing, you know.
Well,
Big thing.
I mean, I should have thought of this. Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. When I introduced those to my kids, they absolutely loved it. And that got my son into the whole sci-fi fantasy pop culture. When we started, watching a lot of the DC Marvel adaptations and what have you. So that kind of set him on that path. So yeah, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back.
Terrific film. Terrific. I would venture to say Empire Strikes Back specifically.
Yes.
Not. I mean, it's hands down the best Star Wars movie, and I'll fight anyone that thinks differently. But I
Big time.
don't think there's not many people that do, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not just a great Star Wars movie. It's a great film, period.
Yes.
And again, it comes
Incredibly
from
well done.
right, and it comes from a time when they took chances in these films. I mean, look at it. I mean, the first one is Star Wars is pretty much like just it's an A to B to C sci-fi adventure fun for all the family. But
Yes.
Empire is dark. Like they literally don't win anything. They're on the run. They're on the back foot from the beginning. I mean, they called it The Empire Strikes Back, and they delivered on that. The heroes are on the back foot from the beginning. They're just on a running battle. They can't catch a break through the entire film. And then when we get to the end, Luke's faced off against Vader. He's lost. He's lost his hand. He's found out the dude's actually his dad. Hand's been fucking frozen and sent off like with a bounty hunter. And the rebels have no base. They're nomadic.
Yes.
And you're like I can't even think of another movie as a kid that you come out of that you were like, holy shit, I gotta see what happens next because right now they're screwed. But yeah, I don't know. But listen, we're kind of coming up on our time now, so I
It
love
goes by
talking
too
about.
fast.
It does, like it goes too fast, and then we get dogs interfering, we get cats interfering, like it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a word with you after this, my girl. Sorry, I'm just talking to BB there, my cat. But yeah, pleasure talking with you again, brother. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and I know you want to say your thing to the audience.
That's right. All right, ice creamers, as we always say, keep screaming.
Take it easy, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Peace out.
Take care.